Welcome to Betrayed and Broken S. Enjoy watching. We hope you will have fun with us. It all started on a dusty summer morning when Emma, a city girl, used to crowded streets and air-conditioned offices, found herself deep in the countryside. She wasn't here for fun. Her uncle had asked her to help out on his small village farm for a few weeks. What she didn't expect was to meet someone like Noah. Not a man, but a stubborn, strong-willed donkey with more energy than anyone could have warned her about. Emma had never dealt with animals before, let alone been responsible for one. The moment she tried to lead Noah to the field, she realized he had a mind of his own. He tugged, stomped, refused to move, and when he did, it was like trying to hold on to a storm. Every villager watched with amusement as she struggled, sweating and stumbling. While Noah kept going like he had something to prove, she thought it would be a quick job walk. The donkey, feed him, maybe clean up a little. But Noah had endless energy. The minutes dragged into hours, and Emma was caught in what felt like a never-ending task she hadn't trained for. Her patience was tested, her limits stretched, and by the time the sun began to set, she was only beginning to understand what she'd signed up for. Still, something about the experience fascinated her. There was something more to Raji's behavior, something she couldn't quite put into words yet. As night fell and strange sounds echoed from the nearby woods, Emma found herself wondering, was this just about a stubborn donkey? Or was there something else going on, something no one had told her? What happened next left her completely speechless and changed everything she thought she knew. The next morning, Layla woke up sore and groggy, the sounds of roosters and distant cowbells dragging her out of sleep. Her muscles ached from the day before, and the thought of facing Noah again made her groan. But something about the way he looked at her before she went to bed, calm, almost knowing, stuck in her mind. There was a strange connection, forming one she couldn't explain. She shrugged it off and pulled on her dusty shoes, heading out toward the barn where he waited. Noah was already awake, pacing slowly in his pen as if he'd been waiting for her when she opened the gate. He didn't resist this time. Instead, he walked beside her. Unusually calm, it was too quiet, though the village, normally full of morning chatter and clanging pots, felt unusually still. Layla glanced around but couldn't shake the feeling something was off. As they walked down the narrow dirt path toward the fields, an old woman sitting near a well stopped them. She stared at Noah, then at Emma, and shook her head. That donkey doesn't tire for a reason, she muttered under her breath. Emma blinked. What do you mean? The woman didn't answer, just looked away and started humming a strange tune. Emma stood frozen for a moment, confused, but Noah tugged gently at the rope, urging her to keep moving. Later that day, as she worked in the field, Emma noticed something odd. No matter how long Noah hauled supplies or walked back and forth, he never slowed down. No signs of fatigue, no resting. It was like he had no limit. The other animals were clearly worn out by the sun, but not him. Curious, Layla asked her cousin Samir, who grew up in the village. He looked serious and lowered his voice. Noah's been here for years. People say he's been around longer than he should have. Some believe he's cursed, others think he's guarding something. Layla laughed nervously, but her mind raced. Could a donkey really be cursed? Or was there some secret behind this never-ending stamina? That night she lay in bed replaying everything, the way the old woman spoke, the strange silence in the village, Noah's unshakable energy. She was starting to realize this wasn't just a farm visit anymore. And just when she thought things couldn't get more bizarre, the noises returned, this time louder, closer. Layla sat up in bed, heart pounding as the sound came again, deep, dragging footsteps followed by a low grunt. It wasn't Noah. She knew the rhythm of his walk. Now this was something else. She reached for the flashlight. She kept by the bed and tiptoed to the window, pulling the curtain just slightly. The yard looked empty under the moonlight, but her eyes caught something near the shed, a shadow standing too still. It vanished before she could focus. Her hand trembled slightly as she shut the curtain and stepped back, but she didn't sleep the rest of the night. The next day, she brought it up to Samir. You ever hear anything strange around the barn? At night he paused for a second, then nodded slowly. Yeah, a few times, but no one talks about it. His voice dropped. Some say there's something buried under the old shed some nights. Noah just stands there for hours, staring at it, doesn't blink, doesn't move. Lila's curiosity turned to unease. Was it coincidence that the noises came from that same spot, or was Raja guarding something just like the old woman? Hinted later while helping in the fields. Emma noticed a few of the villagers whispering and glancing her way. One of them, a younger boy named Ari, eventually approached her. "You should stop following Noah everywhere," he said. Nervously. "He knows where it is. If you follow him too far, it might find you instead." Before she could ask more, he ran off, leaving her more confused than ever. It was like everyone knew something but refused to say it out loud. That evening, while brushing Noah down, she noticed a scar near his neck, a strange mark almost like a symbol carved into the skin. Long ago she reached out to touch it, but Noah flinched and stepped back. It was the first time she'd seen fear in his eyes. As the sun dipped behind the hills and the village grew quiet again, Layla found herself staring at the shed from her window. The wind picked up, carrying with it a faint whisper she couldn't understand, and then she saw Noah already standing at the shed, silent. Unmoving. Something was calling, and Emma wasn't sure if she was ready to find out what it was. The next morning, Emma couldn't shake the feeling that something was about to happen. Every step she took felt heavier. Every glance from the villagers more suspicious. She tried to go about her usual routine, feeding Noah, walking him through the fields. But he was different today, restless. His ears twitched constantly, and he kept turning his head toward the shed. By late afternoon, he refused to move at all. He just stood there, staring. Emma's heart pounded as she approached the shed. She'd passed by it a dozen times before, never thinking much of it. But now something inside her was pulling her closer like invisible threads, dragging her toward a truth. She wasn't sure she wanted to know. The wooden boards looked older than the rest of the farm structures, weathered and gray like they hadn't been touched in years. She reached for the rusty lock and paused behind her. She heard soft footsteps turning around. She found Sir standing a few feet away. "You don't want to do that," he said quietly. "People who open that door, they change." His words hung in the air like smoke. "What's inside?" she asked. He didn't answer, just looked at Noah, who had slowly walked up and stood beside her, silent as ever. The three of them stood there, girl, cousin and donkey, as the wind picked up sweeping dust in tight spirals around their feet. That night, Leia couldn't sleep again. Her mind was tangled with everything she'd heard. Curses, buried secrets. Noah, the villagers' warnings. Around midnight she heard it again. The dragging footsteps, this time followed by a low rasping sound, almost like breathing. She grabbed her flashlight and ran outside, her breath short and fast. The yard was empty except for Noah. He was standing in front of the shed door still, ears alert. The lock was gone, the door slightly open. Emma stepped forward, heart racing. She could feel something inside, not a presence exactly, but a pressure, a weight. She reached for the door. Her hand shaking, Noah let out a strange noise, low, almost human. And just as her fingers brushed the wood, a sudden gust of cold wind slammed the door shut from behind it. Something knocked once. Then again. Emma stumbled back, her breath caught in her throat. The knocking had stopped, but the air around her felt colder, now heavier, like something ancient had stirred. Wait. Noah was no longer calm. He paced in circles, breathing heavily, his hooves scraping the dirt. She'd never seen him. This agitated her. First instinct was to run back inside, lock the doors, pretend none of this had happened. But something rooted her in place. That knock. It wasn't random, it was a warning. She spent the rest of the night sitting on the edge of her bed, eyes locked on the window, the flashlight clutched in her hand. The next morning she tried to act like everything was normal, but nothing felt. The same villagers were gathered near the well, whispering a man had gone missing, an old farmer who lived alone on the far end of the fields. No one had seen him since the previous night. Lila's stomach turned. She hadn't seen him either, but something deep inside her whispered that this wasn't a coincidence. Later that day, as she walked near the shed again, She noticed something new, fresh tracks in the mud, not human, not hooks, but something larger dragged. They led around the back of the shed and disappeared into the woods. That same chilling wind brushed against her skin, and for a second she could have sworn. She heard whispering again, faint like it was coming from beneath the ground. Driven by fear and growing curiosity, she confronted Samir. I need to know everything. What is Raja guarding? What's under that shed? Samira looked at her with a mix of guilt and fear. There's a reason the village never replaces him. He whispered, he's not just a donkey. Emma, he's a tether, that thing under the shed. It's been buried for generations. A long time ago someone made a pact. Noah's bloodline is tied to it. He's what keeps it from waking fully. Emma could hardly believe it, but it explained a scar, the endless energy, the way he always circled that spot. She felt dizzy. So what happens if the tether breaks? Samir hesitated. Then whatever's beneath will come back, and this time it won't be bound to this land. That night lightning rolled in over the hills. The shed door was wide open when she went to check, and Noah was gone. As thunder cracked overhead, she ran through the village calling his name. Every home was shut, tight lights off. The only sound was the storm and the faint rhythmic knock, now echoing not from the shed but from her own front door. Layla froze. Whatever was buried wasn't buried anymore. Emma stood frozen as the knocking grew louder, each thud on the wooden door echoing deep in her C*******T. Her hand trembled as she reached for the latch. When she finally pulled it open, she didn't know what to expect, but it wasn't Noah. He stood there in the rain, soaked and shivering, his eyes wide with fear. Behind him the storm howled and distant lightning lit up the trees, but he wasn't alone. Around his legs was a trail of disturbed earth, as if something had followed him, something that shouldn't have been able to move on its own. She pulled him inside and bolted the door for hours. They stayed like that. Her crouched near the window, flashlight in hand. Noah lying silently near her feet. The knocking never came again. By morning the air had shifted. The storm had passed and outside the shed was empty. No tracks, no signs, nothing but silence. In the days that followed, the village slowly returned to normal, but something had changed. The whisper stopped. The villagers no longer avoided Emma. Some even nodded at her in quiet respect. She later learned that the pact had been broken that night. Noah somehow had drawn whatever force lived beneath the shout and away, far enough that its grip on the land was finally released. Samir explained it best. You weren't just a visitor. You were part of the story now, and Noah, he chose you. Emma didn't stay much longer after that. When she finally left the village, she looked back. Once spotting Noah at the edge of the field, he didn't follow. He just watched, calm again, as if he knew his work was done. She never forgot what happened, though no one outside the village ever believed her. But deep down she knew some places carry secrets far older than anyone can explain. And some bonds, like the one between a girl and a tireless donkey, are strong enough to hold back even the darkest things that wait beneath the ground. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, like, and leave a comment. If you enjoyed this story, this will help us create even more exciting stories just for